Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. Listen, I wore the hat last week, so I decided to try something different this week. I wanted to get something similar to what I had, so I actually dressed up as Zach for the release of 7 Rebirth, and I didn't use a wig or anything. I just used my own hair. My hair is way too short to be Zach's hair. Like, I didn't realize it till I was doing it. I was like, oh yeah, you know, I grew my hair out a decent bit. No, dude, the like thing in the front is like the length of, it's like this big. It's enormous. So I just kind of went for the spirit of it. So I started doing that before this recording, and I couldn't get it the way I had it before. Like it was like a fluke. Like how I managed to get it like in a space that I was content with it. So I just went with something in between, because then I was thinking, oh, maybe I do like the crazy, like blown out hair again, because it kind of looks like Saiyan hair. Like I've been told that on social media, but you know, for Akira Toriyama, rest in peace. But then I was like, whatever. I was like, I just want to get to my recording. Well, however it turns out, it turns out. And so this is what I've got this week. I tried a mohawk too, but I couldn't get, it was like curling out at the end. Realistically, I just need to cut my hair. I think we're at the point now where it's like, I'm having fun with it, but I need to cut my hair. So before we go into the Q&A for this week, I'm going to start doing something at the start of this video every week. And keep in mind, there is going to be a Magic Spoon ad here as well, but you know, that's going to be after all this explanation. Where I tell you what's happening on all of my other channels, because I actually have 3 YouTube channels now, and I have my Twitch channel. One of my YouTube channels is just VODs. I had someone uploading on my behalf, and I guess they've been busy because I haven't been doing it. So I'm starting to slowly catch it up myself. And right now I'm uploading Unicorn Overlord. By the time this comes out, the first 3 VODs for Unicorn Overlord should be out. So if you wanted to check that out, that's on the VOD channel, which will be linked below. And then on the second YouTube channel, I uploaded 3 things. One was the first impressions of Unicorn Overlord. One was one of them was Grand Blue Relink news. Oh, and the other was my reaction to the recent Capcom highlight day, yeah, with Dragon's Dogma in it, which I am also going to upload my character creator thing over there as well. That's going to be happening this week. So I figured I'd let you guys know it's happening on those channels at this point and bring them up. In case you didn't know, I have a non-Final Fantasy channel now, although I barely uploaded onto it at all because 7 Rebirth was consuming my life. And then I have my VOD channel, which is getting caught up. I'm trying to upload some 7 Rebirth stuff there too. It's just taking a really long time because they're really long clips. So yeah, that's what I got going. And then on Twitch, playing through Unicorn Overlord right now, loving it. Grand Blue Relink has Lucilius this week, which I'll probably post stuff about over on the second channel. And then, you know, Dragon's Dogma 2 character creator, and that's on the 22nd, so I'm looking forward to it. Without further ado, let's get into this week's Q&A. Thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. Nobody has to support the channel as long as you enjoy the videos. Comment below to engage with them. Ask your questions for next week, like, you know, the usual stuff. It's more than enough, but the extra, yeah, I'm never going to say no to it. So the Patreon's there. Thank you to those over there who have been supporting, and any super chats that pop up on time to time, I make sure to shout those out as well. Anyway, without further ado, here's your Magic Spoon ad, which will probably be in this week and next week's episode. Maybe not next week's, we'll see, but at the very least this one. So enjoy that ad because they're back for another month and they treat me very, very well. And then we'll get on to the Q&A. Thanks for that ad, Magic Spoon. And now let's check it out. Hashtag Mondays happy with Mr. That honestly almost hurt my brain. Not gonna lie. Hiya, Haps. Hi. Having experienced a bit of Criteria now, I find myself really enjoying the trash pulls and how it's all still very much a puzzle to solve. How'd you feel about doing something like this in an 8-man tier? I feel like a neat spot for it could be the transition from phase 1 to 2 on a door boss and a place in a cutscene. That's not really trash. You know what I mean? Like the whole point of the trash is that it ultimately is just a gate for you to get to the boss. And the big thing with Criterion is that all the rewards come at the end of a 3-boss gauntlet with a couple of trash pulls filtered in between. You know, there's one before the first boss, one before the second boss, and then there's, you know, you always just walk straight up to the 3rd boss. So if they're going to do anything like that in like a fight, it's not even like a trash pull. It's more like a phase of the fight. They're not going to like let you wipe in the middle of the trash and then do the trash again in the middle of a raid boss. So I'm not depending on how you're interpreting these trash pulls, because they are very much mini bosses in and of themselves. And I guess how you mean to incorporate them, the answer is I wouldn't want to do something like this because honestly, we shouldn't even have so many door bosses and phase 1 to phase 2 bosses as it is. The idea of sticking something between the two, I can't say I'm too thrilled with the idea. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello and good day, Haps. Hello and good day to you too. Firstly, thanks for the answer last week in the Final Fantasy VII R mechanic stuff. It did make me realize my underutilization of people's triangle abilities. Yeah, I've noticed a lot with watching people play how like differently I grasp the gameplay versus other. And I think a lot of that is still because of my experience with like the really actiony games combined with my experience with the more turn-based. I think I'm a unique breed in that case with the way that I approach. And I don't even think I'm even, fully diving deep. There's like some hidden tech in there that even I don't mess around with too much. So my question on the topic of Final Fantasy VII in general, I find the story to be even more interesting when you already know the twists, turns, and backstory if what's going on is reframes and recontextualize it so much. Are there any games or series you ended up enjoying more on the second or third go when you already know where foreshadowing was leading up to? It's not quite the same because like we're talking about the remake Rebirth series where if you have the context of the original game, you can use that context to discern kind of how they get to certain places or what the correlations and causations are with the newer games. There's almost no experience that works like that in any other franchise. So I guess separate from the example of remake and rebirth, any game that I liked more the second, I think there are games I either dislike more or don't dislike as much. I wouldn't say there's any game I've ever felt it was enhanced the second or third playthrough. Like the closest thing might be Elden Ring or even the Souls games. Because when you already know how the Souls games work, and then you start going through and like routing how to get like crazy weapons and builds like as early as possible. That I suppose is the answer to the question. It's really the Souls games because knowledge is king. And that's true in most RPGs. For other games though, like for example, Final Fantasy 13, I despised when it came out. I'm still not a huge fan of it, but it's not one of my least favorite Final Fantasy games anymore. There are other games that I have better reason to dislike within the franchise that aren't Final Fantasy 13. 13 I just have gripes with, but I don't like hate it so much that I'd return it again like I did when I first bought it. And honestly, when I first bought it, it wasn't even that so much I hated it. It's that what I saw I hated after I'd already purchased it. I never even opened it. I watched my friend start playing it, said, "That's not my Final Fantasy," and then returned it. When I played it years later, I didn't really mind all that much. And as I've played it more and more, and I've come to like memorize things and like know how to get through things quicker, it's only the things that like, the party leader dying, causing a game over, stuff like that. Like the really like beyond the surface level stuff that kind of grates my nerves. Whereas then you have games like Final Fantasy 3D, which I didn't really mind that much the first time I played through it, but now it is my least favorite Final Fantasy game, and its subsequent playthroughs made me realize how much I was just putting up with garbage the first time through because I just didn't have any standards. So it doesn't really approach the question the right way because like your question isn't really about those kind of things, but that's as good an answer as I'm going to get or give, I guess. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hope you've been well. Hope the same for you. I have a rebirth mechanic question I was hoping you could answer since I've been trying to avoid story spoilers until I can experience them myself. Well, we'll see if I can answer it because in some ways mechanic spoilers or mechanic discussions can be spoilers. But if it's in the video, then I didn't consider it as such. I finally played through Remake last year on hard mode, and with Rebirth having the same mode, I was wondering what kind of prep should I do during my base playthrough to prep for a hard mode run. It's funny. I actually didn't do this at all with Rebirth because I knew how remakes worked. The only thing I can recommend is to just farm some levels on materia you may have been neglecting. That seems like I don't want to spoil the materia types, but anything that can heal without the use of MP is really, really valuable. Raises are really, really valuable. Anything that makes MP or the cost of spells less or makes it cast faster, anything like that, anything that enhances stuff that you will guaranteed use or stuff that allows you to save on MP are definitely the top priority. You could also get to level 70, which is the max level, I don't mind saying that, before even going into hard mode. It doesn't actually make it any easier, but at the very least, then you're not chasing any levels. You're just focusing on playing through and beating the game, which I think is probably the best way to go about it. So without naming any particulars, just those are kind of like the things I would look out for. Make sure that you have all the different element spells and that you have plenty of copies of all of them. Make sure you have plenty of healing materials. Make sure you have plenty of just any material you've been neglecting. Just give it a little bit of time, give it a little bit of love, and it'll go a long way. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Well met, Mr. Happy. Hello. Hopefully you're hitting all your fitness goals. Oh yeah, I'm actually back on, so what I do is I've been seasonally going between reducing carbs and increasing carbs. I never go carbless. It's like the difference between eating my body weight in carbs or eating double my body weight in carbs. So like 175 to 180 grams versus like over 350 grams. And that's largely in regards to muscle growth. Now, because this isn't even what the question is about. I just went off on the tangent. I just love talking about it. Because I didn't do a whole lot of gym the month of rebirth, I just mostly ate and sat and played. I'm actually increasing my eating now, so I have more energy within the gym itself, because I need to get, I don't want any sort of strength loss, although to be honest, I haven't experienced any. I went back to the gym and it was like, okay, I just stayed at the weight that I was doing before and it was perfectly fine. But like, I was worried that I was on a downward trend because I was like ultra sore and like not feeling it right there. It was really, really rough this last first week back after platinuming rebirth. So I'd say, yeah. And the other big thing is work on my shoulders. My shoulder press is terrible. Absolutely terrible. So working on the shoulders, working on my arms, and 2 leg days a week. Whew, it's been a hell of a time. Which do you prefer, pancakes or burritos? I don't like pancakes. That is not true. I will never pick pancakes out of a hat over anything. Obviously, if you had asked pancakes versus waffles, the answer would have been waffles. But there are things that I like that I will never order or buy or eat ever. I don't even dislike them. It's just there will always be something else against it that wins. I think we all have that kind of food. Like you look on the menu and you go, man, I haven't had meatloaf in ages, but I would never order a meatloaf like going out to dinner versus like a steak or like a really well-made pasta dish or, you know, something like, I will never pick meat. I can make a meatloaf super easily. My meatloaf is great. So burritos all the time, because burritos come in so many different like flavor profiles. It's all it is it's just a wrapping for something delicious in the middle. Like there's breakfast burritos. I have like a chorizo or vegetarian breakfast burrito most mornings for breakfast. And then, you know, but then you could just do, you know, you could do like a chicken one like later in the day, or like a beef burrito or a bean burrito. It's the possibilities are endless, more so than pancakes. I know some of you are thinking like, oh, but you know, you can do that with pancakes. No. Burritos got that hand down. Okay. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hi. I hope all is well with you and yours. Me and my cats are doing fine. Aloha just hopped back up on the couch, just barely off camera. So he's having a good time. I was just wondering if they will ever have trust NPCs for Palace or Heaven. No, it's never going to happen. And I know, hey, there he is. I know that sometimes I like to say, oh, you know, I can't say never. I'm not a debt. No, that's never going to happen. It's just straight up never going to happen. It's literally like something that's doable with 1, 2, 4 players and has been done with the 1 player option many a time. And is honestly, sometimes I can do it faster as 1 than do it as 4. Like if people go off and just like do random stuff and don't let you go up to the next floor, like it is infuriating. But no, they'd have to build an entirely new system for it, because the trust system literally only works for select dungeons and has an entire UI to itself, like separate from the regular DF. And then this is separate from the DF, so they have to build another system on top of it. Yeah, no, it's never going to happen. Someone done Eureka is wondering if it's still busy enough. Yeah, I can't speak for every data center or even every region, but in NA, you can always find like 20 to 30 people in any of the zones, unless you're playing on like, you know, like degen hours. Like then you might find like 10 to 12 at any given time. And honestly, I've gone through Pagos as 1 and been fine. Like if you're a warrior or even a healer and you have some gear for, like even if you just have like the Kieran's Osode or the Vermilion Cloak, it goes a long way. So yeah, and the zone also scales to the number of people in the zone. So if you're one of like 4 people in the zone, this entire zone is only scaled to 4 people. So all the bosses are pretty reasonable as long as you can get them spawned. But yeah, no, most of the time there's people in there. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. Somebody's typing from their phone. Hello, and an extra hello in case someone forgets. Anyway, got a couple of quick questions regarding the new Dynamus data center. My questions may be as useless as, as the data center. Although with the Xbox people, I've heard Dynamus is popping off a little bit. You know, not like, you know, popping off, but it's popping off a little bit, you know? One, after transferring there to get a large house, because I had the misfortune of only getting enough guild together, the week of new wards popped up in the new lottery system at a medium could have turned in. I wondered if they've said anything about adding the other new servers to it. No, they haven't mentioned anything in a while, and I feel like if they are going to, they're going to keep them in reserve for Dawn Trail, because that's when a population increase on Dynamus might seem like a reasonable option. And 2, do you think it would be a good idea to at least try to add the 4 new servers to Dynamus a month before? Yeah, I mean, this is kind of in the same vein as the one that I just answered. Yeah, I think that's what they're keeping them in tow for. Like, they were supposed to be out already on Dynamus. And then they just haven't been. So I have to assume they're just waiting until the need is more dire. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello and greetings there, Mr. Happy. Hello and greetings to you too. Probably answered this on a previous Q&A. Doesn't matter. I have to repeat myself all the time. Comes with the territory. But I was looking at the new mount for 14 on the store and noticed that while it's 2,530 yen and the price in British pounds and euro are about what the exchange rate is. The issue is that the US dollar exchange is 30% more than any of the others for the exchange rate at $24, when the exchange rate is 150 yen to $1. Are US players getting completely fleeced from extra cost? I'd say it's more so regionally priced. So this is true of not just Final Fantasy XIV, but other games as well, and other services as well. Not every service is made equal or costs equal, or goods even even within the US, like within different states and different regions. So when it comes to something like this, they don't just look at, okay, what is our global price for this item? Now convert it to every other region's price, and that's what we're gonna do. They do usually look at what is acceptable within the market, what people are willing to pay. They, no doubt, any major business that has global reach has teams that are capable of handling that kind of stuff, understanding regional pricing. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it always reflects well on the company. We've seen plenty of cases where prices go up or down for specific countries or regions of the world based on inflation or the value of their currency versus the US. Honestly, I'm not qualified to get into that level of discussion about it. Consider that a very broad kind of like notation that kind of thing happens. I just don't think 14 is any different. They're not looking to convert and make it the same globally, regardless of exchange rate. So technically the answer to your question is yes, but it's because within the I can't say it's because. They've never said it's because. I'm inferring that it might likely be because they've seen what people are willing to pay in the US dollar or with in the US, you know, relative to the cost in USD. And that's what they've determined is a reasonable cost based on demand or something like that. You get where I'm coming from, right? That's just what they've determined it can be sold for, and people will still buy it in the US. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey Haps, hi, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Relic question. All right, get the tomes out, everyone. Come on. And yes, I just watched your Relic video. Oh, okay. I thought it was just going to be about the Endwalker ones. Do you think we'll ever get a step like the first step of Heavensward Relic where you could turn in a completed Zodiac to skip the first step? No. They're never going to do that again. So in practice, that sounds really cool, right? I know that when Heavensward's Relic came out, I was so thankful that I didn't have to do the Atma grind for my first one because I had one already tucked away. Technically, I had 2 tucked away, but like I was only working on 1 at that time. That being said, it unfortunately has the reverse effect for people who didn't do the Relic prior. They are now sitting through this first step, jealous of the people who already did it because they did 100 hours of the Relic in the previous expansion. Don't get me wrong, I don't agree with that thinking at all. I don't think that should be a factor. I think that you could do this again and it would make perfect sense. Maybe not lore-wise, unless they wrote it that way, But I don't think it's reasonable to be like, oh, I wasn't playing the game. I didn't get something, or I didn't do something on content. And I'm mad that those people who did get something I don't, or don't have to do something that I have to. I think that's, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's kind of a normal way for people to think nowadays. I think it's selfish, in all honesty. Now, I think it would also be selfish for me to say, I did something before, I should get something. Fuck those people. That would be selfish too. So that's not what I'm saying. But I don't think it matters either way. I think they could do it and it shouldn't upset people, but they could also not do it. And I don't care, because I'm going to just do the new one anyway, because I'm playing the game and I'm looking for content to grind out. I was thinking it feels slightly better if seeing this. Okay, so you're more specifically saying if the Endwalker one, which was kind of not super loved by most people, especially people who, you know, actually like playing the game more than 10 minutes a day, if them using that and then saying, oh, that lets you skip the first step. I think about the idea, I think because it's so easy to get it done, the first step in Dawn Trail would then become irrelevant, because you couldn't make it anything that isn't tomes, which I think for the first step is fine. I think literally, like, if Endwalker's first step had just been tomes and every other step hadn't been, I think that would have been perfectly fine, or at least not only tomes for the subsequent set. But you'd have to make the first step in Dawn Trail also tomes, which I think doesn't help the first impression that you're going to make with the new weapon, because it's either you spent 6,000, what would be at the time Poetics. Once Dawn Trail comes out, this whole thing will be Poetics instead, or you're just spending however many tomes from the current step. And then it's a really bad initial presentation. And I don't think there's any other option that makes sense if you're going to let the Endwalker Relic skip the first step of the Dawn Trail weapon. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hi. In your recent Monday video, you mentioned while playing Rebirth, there was a song that stopped you in your tracks and you were in awe. Really curious which one. So it's not the one that you're suggesting, though I do like that song. It is actually a song that is present from another game. I'm not going to say what it is, but I will tell you that. I will tell you, though, I posted a video of all of the mini games, or at least like it's every mini game, and then like some of the rematches, like against like higher difficulties or certain opponents, etc. And towards the later end of that video, there is one of the Chocobo races that has a theme that some people may recognize. That was the theme, because I was just kind of going about the race and then I started paying attention and I was like, wait a minute. Is that? Yes, it is. Some of you now know which one it is, but if you don't and you want to know and you've played through, go to my minigame, all minigames video, find one of the Chocobo races in the very, whatever the last race is. I think it's like 2 hours into that video, and it's that song. Hashtag happy with Mr. Mondays. Hello and yeah! No DSR, please. 2 questions for side content. If you've done big fishing, I'm never touching big fishing. Ever. What one do you have a memory of? I do ocean fishing. And by do, I mean I did. And never add another achievement to it again. I have the best title in the game. I am the world-class troller. Let me be free. And in hunts, do you ever go out to spawn S ranks? I have on occasion. I sometimes pop in and help my server spawn S ranks. It's been a long time since I think I've been the one who successfully spawned them. Gamma, I've spawned a couple of times. I know I've spawned Agrippa a handful of times. The answer is yeah, but seldom do I participate in it. I just go to the S ranks most of the time. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. How are you? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Don't know if this has been asked before, probably, but do you think the general skill level of Savage Raiders will reach a point where Square should raise the bar and add more demanding mechanics like suppression or wormhole from ultimates? I have to wonder, because there's a balance to be had for new raiders coming in, also not putting veteran raiders to sleep, and there's only so many ultimate raids that are available right now. I'll say, as a longtime Savage Raider and a longtime ultimate raider, actually, I see there's an edit here as I was scrolling down. Okay, it's another question. Let me answer the first one first. Almost all of my peers who do high-end raiding and who do it consistently do not expect ultimate level mechanics out of Savage. And there's a very good reason for that. Reason number one, it has been clearly defined what Savage will demand from the player over the years, even if that bar has been raised in small regards at points. There's a generally accepted level of committal that's needed for that. And Ultimate's similar deal. We now, especially after the most recent expansion, have a much better idea of what the commitment from the players should be in order to, take that content on, week 1, week 2, whatever. So none of them have that expectation that Savage needs to level up in a sense. But the second thing is they don't want it for one reason more than any other reason. I am lucky that I get to sit home and be a fucking nerd for a living. Most people work 9 to 5s or work, in jobs that don't even have consistent, like you could be like a server and you get your schedule on Sunday or something, and then you find out what your days are. And taking off for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, is not something most people could do. If you start adding ultimate level stuff into Savage, you have to assume that it takes that similar amount of effort that it takes to do as an ultimate does. Otherwise, you couldn't say it's like, you couldn't just, say, oh, wormhole, do wormhole and Savage. Like there are mini wormholes, like things that are conceptually the same, but you couldn't do something that perplexed players to that same degree, or that was that executionally tough, because now you're going to start dragging days on to the tier for even the most hardcore people. And that starts to take away from availability for Ultimate, which makes filling out rosters more difficult for Ultimates, which I think is what a lot of people want. They want to be able to blitz through Savage in 2-3 days so they don't burn a lot of time off. And also they don't burn out as a whole. Then they can watch their friends, help their friends. There's a lot of like continued raid content that comes after that, or even just raid log. If you're like me, I generally just raid log afterwards. Versus having another drawn out 1-2 weeks every 4 months, plus Criterion, plus any other content that comes out they want to put a lot of time into. The list goes on. So I don't think it's safe. And then it also really hurts the people who aren't on that level, because they need a way in to raiding. And I don't think 14's got that down. I think 14 has a lot to improve on in getting people into raiding, and they've shown no propensity to improve it over a long, long time now. But that being said, I don't think you can raise that bar anymore, because then people really have no way. I think if you're going to, you need at least 6 bosses. I think we should have 6 bosses anyway, but if you're going to raise the difficulty of the really late stuff, even just a smidge, you need more bosses to level out the difficulty curve. Otherwise, it's just going to hurt more people than it's going to entertain. As for the second question, do you think there is a better alternative to be had for gearing up Savage tiers that would also keep content still relevant? For example, maybe having normal raid or extreme trial gear pieces be more relevant when crafting sets. It's tough, because the answer is yes. Of course there's ways. I mean, we've been complaining that Criterion should realistically have its release schedule changed and should have better gear rewards, so it's an alternative to gearing up. Or at the very least, it has pieces that are valuable, even if you're already doing Savage raiding. Or if you're not into getting 8-man groups together, you have a reason to try to get these 4-man groups, etc., etc. But it's not even just that. I mean, crafted gear makes getting caught up easy. It makes getting in easy. That's great. But after that, because gear is so similar in 14, you can create options with similar item level, and you can create them sooner. I don't think they should shy away from that just because, the 24-man, we want to make it 10 item levels lower because it's not the same difficulty. Well, so a lot of other things aren't the same difficulty, but that doesn't stop you either. Getting tomes isn't like a difficult task, and then upgrading them is just done through the hunt and 24-man's. Like if the 24-man is willing to give Savage level stuff from the upgrade material once a week, then there becomes no reason why there can't be content that has gear that's 5 item levels between more often, or gear that's equal more often, or other options. What those options are, up to the dev team. We all have an idea based on the content in the game, like I've been saying, but I don't expect them to. Not because I don't want them to, but because I don't think they will. Hashtag Mr. Happy expansion lol Mondays. You damn right. Good thing we got some good games in the meantime. Hey Haps, hi. I was watching your video covering Relic information, wanted to make the mistake of exploring different viewpoints. Why do we validate the concerns of Relic collector completionists when they are such a small percentage? Can we not scale based on the number of Relic weapons obtained? I hope they time gate any casual implemented methods if it proves to be the obvious path of least resistance. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to see. I mean, it is really just a matter of perspective. Some people want the first step to be gruelingly difficult, and then any repeated weapons to be easier, which honestly Bozia kind of does, and Eureka at least feels that way, because once you're already done with all your leveling up, then going back and getting all of the materials to make a second weapon is easier. But the same can't be said about the Zodiac or the Anima weapon, which, you know, it's just kind of a linear thing. You got to go through it every time. And then some people wouldn't mind the casual options being time gated like tomestones are. I mean, if you want them to be tomes, then, you know, you can put up with the same systems that tomestones are put up with, right? Or you could sit there and grind it out. Like, there are a lot of different ways to do it, but the bottom line is you're going to piss somebody off. And I don't know that we have a full set of verifiable data about what is a relic collector completionist's concern. I'm a relic weapon completionist, and I want stuff that's more involved. I don't just want to complete the weapons. I like having a lot of content to do over a period of time. I don't want to log out of the game and not play it for a week when I'm done with something. I want to have a reason to be paying monthly for the game, which generally means something that I enjoy doing alone or with my peers in the game. And I don't have that this expansion. Outside of raiding, which, you know, largely done with until Dawn Trail comes out, I don't have that. So I'm in that boat, but I'm only one opinion. I'm not the opinion. I'm not the most important opinion. I'm not even an important opinion. I'm just an opinion. And they just have to weigh the opinions of some versus the opinions of others. And sometimes they're going to want to do stuff that's different just for the sake of doing stuff that's there. There's like a lot of layers to it. But what answer they nail for Dawn Trail? I mean, it just, at the very least, we know it won't just be tomes. And I'm personally grateful for that. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hey, hi. How you doing? Great. You? Great. Good. Extra boop and scritches for the kitties. They're still recovering from daylight saving, as am I, actually. Question, I have seen you're a fan of RPGs. I agree with your take on how chat gets and why you don't stream it, but as a game, what do you think of Persona? Oh, I love the Persona games. I love games that have a mix of social aspects as well as traditional turn-based gameplay. It's a system that piques all of my interests. I have a lot more gaming interest than it seems. Like, I love Animal Crossing. I haven't played it in a while, but like when the latest one came out a couple years ago during the pandemic, like the height of the pandemic, I played it nonstop. I would invite people over and like we would all hang out and everything. And I was working on Blue Roses and terraforming. Like, I was all into that. But then I'm into, you know, Devil May Cry and stuff like that. And then I'm into Final Fantasy. So Persona scratches multiple itches for me and it works well. For the Tales of games, I don't have much experience. I played Tales of Symphonia for like 5 minutes when I was young because my friend asked me to heal him. I had never played it before. And he's like, oh, you can play the healer character for this boss coming up. And then he died in one hit and blamed me. Like, he literally went from 100% HP to 0% HP and asked me why I didn't heal him. And then I ran around and I had no offensive attacks, but I just didn't die because I didn't get hit. And I didn't know how he died. So he was just really bad at the game. And then I didn't play another one till Arise. And I really liked Arise until like 20 to 25 hours in. And then it got really boring. Like, its luster wore off like way too quickly. But I can't speak for any of the other games. Trails, I won't play any of them. Trails in the Sky is so fucking boring, the first one, and everyone just keeps moving the bar about where I should start. I've given up on that franchise. They were like, oh yeah, just, you know, first chapter is really boring. It's a lot of setup. Just start with second chapter. And then it was like, oh, you know, you should start with Trails of Cold Steel. You know, just watch a video for Trails in the Sky for all those. And then now I'm getting like, oh, no, Trails, honestly, Cold Steel's not a good place to start either. You should just, you know, YouTube a video and start that. It's like, bro, you can't keep moving the bar. I'm not watching a YouTube video for these. Either they're good enough games to play on their own or they're not good enough games. So if you're telling me they're not worth playing, then why did you play them? And how could you even like recommend the next game if you're telling me to skip 5? Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's linear. Like I can't like I need to know stuff about one to know the stuff about the next one. And that's like that for like 10 games now. It's like I can't do it. Octopath I love. And the second one is so much better than the first. I love Octopath 1. But Octopath 2 is just better in every way. And I'm afraid we won't ever see another Octopath game because Octopath 2 sold like 1/3 of what Octopath 1 did. Dragon Quest 11 I really liked, except for the OST, which those of you who know, you know, why that was the way it was. Speaking of pre-S, I only played Dragon Quest 11, the original. I played Dragon Quest 8 when I was young. Wasn't wild about it. And then I'm waiting for Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D. Honestly, my favorite Dragon Quest game is Builders, which just came out on Steam. I even did a sponsored stream for it. I remember seeing that game and thinking like, they really nailed this. Like, this is a great game, Dragon Quest Builders. And then they also added a bunch of quality of life with the Steam version that I didn't know about until I was playing it, and people were like, oh, you can do that now? And Dragon Quest Monsters, if it ran better, the more recent one, I probably would have liked that a lot. Dragon Quest has a lot of like off-brand games, like, you know, like spin-off games, and they're very hit or miss. But I do like Dragon Quest as a whole. Bravely Default, I couldn't finish Bravely Default 1. I honestly hated the dialogue. Which is funny because Octopath has some similar issues to Bravely Default's dialogue where it's way too dragged on. Like, it's just like, bro, I get the point. I describe Bravely Default, all of the asterisk quest, as like, I am the evil villain who will do the evil thing. No, we will not let you do the evil thing, evil villain, because you are evil and that is bad. And they're like, aha, but you cannot stop me from doing the evil thing that I'm going to do. It's like, no, but we must. And every asterisk quest is like 15 minutes of the worst dialogue I've ever experienced in an RPG. And then the fight's done in like 3 seconds because I murder them at 4 times speed. That was every asterisk quest I did as I played through Bravely Default. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. I literally can't listen to these characters talk anymore. I'm so done. I didn't even get to the loop. That's how much I couldn't stand it. Like, some people say, oh, you give up on Bravely Default at the loop. I didn't even get to the loop. I was so done with that game. Bravely Default 2 was okay, but like 2 of the characters were kind of useless. The villain throughout most of it was like, his voice was like, it honestly took me out of it. It's one of the only times I've been like, you know, maybe I should play on JP voices. You know, maybe I should do that. But overall, as a game, it was fun. I do have an issue with the way that the devs of Bravely Default, especially Bravely Default 2, how they handle counterattacking, where it's like, the boss is weak to fire and axe. If you attack them with fire, they do an AoE 90% HP hit that leaves a 20% poison on you that instantly ticks and murders you. Or if you hit them with an axe, they counterattack and instantly kill the one person who attacked them. And then if you attack them with anything else, they do like a 50% of your party AoE. It's like, do you just not want me to play? Like, I would just tell me you don't want me to play if you're going to like add in a counterattack to every single thing that I do that cripples my entire team or instantly kills people. I was like, why even bother with all of this? But I still managed to enjoy Bravely Default 2. I even did a 4-job fiesta for Bravely Default 2, though I think I got ultra lucky on the jobs that I landed. I don't remember what the names of the jobs were, but the last boss took me like 47 minutes with whatever I landed on. And do any of them rank higher than Final Fantasy? I think Persona could, if they're really like lengthy games, like so lengthy I don't even like really like replaying them very often. And that kind of takes a little bit away from me. But I think if any were to compete with me, it would be Persona. There's definitely Persona games I like more. Like Persona 5, I definitely like more than like half of the at least half the Final Fantasy franchise. And Persona 4, I could kind of say the same thing. 3, 4, and 5 were all like kind of close. 5 is just really, really modern in like a lot of ways. And I haven't played Reload yet. So yeah, Persona would be the only one that would compete out of all of those. Hashtag follow your dreams. I mean, again, my hair doesn't really look like it right now, but you know. Hey, Mr. Happy, following your dreams, embracing my dreams. Hello? I'm following my dreams and watching a lot of Rebirth since I am not blessed with a PS5. No spoiler question here, but I've been watched a lot of it for Queen's Blood from various streamers. Got to say, I really want it in 14 now. Yeah, I love Queen's Blood. I had so much fun. Even through the really, really tough matches, there's some that are... yeah, no, Queen's Blood's a lot of fun. I don't think they'll ever add it to 14 though. Doubt it. Hashtag Happy Monday with Mr. Happy, Mr. Monday Happy Monday. Wow, that one, you got me on that one. Hey Haps, how's it going? Hello, it's going great. How about you? It's going great. It's going good. How are Aloha and Ivy? Aloha, I thought I was going to say they're asleep, but Aloha is just staring off into the distance. They're doing fine. This is a mechanics question. Well, good thing I don't own a car. What jank mechanic from Alexander and Pryor did you actually kind of like and want to see back? None. None. Okay, wait. I'll give you an answer for posterity's sake. 2 answers. But I don't actually want them back because I remember how awful they were. Number 1, cursed voice. Terrible mechanic. Bring it back. Number 2, the towers from the avatar. And that's it. Alexander's Jank Mechanics, like tower, like tether snapping or digititis, if done better, I wouldn't mind. But as is, no. No. All right, and there was just one person who quickly asked if they think we'll get the PC date for 16 at PAX. I'm like 50-50 on it. I think it's I wouldn't write it off. I think it's possible, but you know, I don't think it'll be. I'm just worried it's going to be in June. Just don't be near June 21st. All right. Would you recommend playing Intergrade before Rebirth? Not necessary. Like if you've already beaten Remake, Intergrade would help like a tiny bit. But if you had the choice between like playing Intergrade and then jumping right into I'd just jump right into Rebirth, to be honest. I don't think it's so crucially important. And yeah, that's going to be a wrap for this week's Q&A. So reminder, I'll have a link to the other channels in the description of the video here. Don't forget to ask your questions in the comment section of this video so that I can answer them next week. And as for videos this week, my Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for 16 video should already be out. There was an interview with Kate for about Dawn Trail's MSQ. I actually recorded it a few days ago, but haven't released it yet. And then there were a couple of other videos I already had planned for this week. I'm trying to remember what some of the other ones were. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you subscribe to all the channels, the VOD channel, if you want to just catch the stuff that I'm doing over on Twitch, but in VOD format. The other channel, if you're interested in Grand Blue, which, yeah, I will be doing videos for on that channel this week. And then also Dragon's Dogma 2 character creator over there. Yeah, some of the things I said earlier. But yeah, make sure you're subscribed to all 3 channels to get everything you could possibly get from me. Anyway, that's going to be a wrap. I'm going to go eat. I just had a protein shake before this, and now it is food time. Some ground turkey and mixed vegetables in a teriyaki glaze is what I'm going to be making. So I'm hungry now that I've said that. I'm out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.